All right, to this now, the Secretary General of the ANC, Fikile Mbalula, is hosting a media briefing to present the outcomes of the recent Jacob Zuma Disciplinary Hearing. Let's take you live to that.
Membership, once taken up by an individual, comes with strict organizational discipline. The structures of this organizational discipline are demanded from all of us without exception, regardless of rank, years of service, or past records of leadership. For over a century, the ANC has weathered many storms and confronted challenging political moments by uncompromisingly asserting the principality of the organization over and above the force of personality of any of its leaders or members. History is replete with instances in which the ANC had to confront situations in which the actions of some of its members were in conflict with its organizational discipline and political values. This experience has helped the ANC evolve a constitution that defines the political line for all members. The constitution maps out progressive parameters within which all members must act and a clear framework of political recourse for when members act in conflict with the strategic political line and organizational discipline. The effectiveness of the ANC as a political organization has always depended on its capacity to function coherently and cohesively, with all members pulling together on the basis of a common mission, a binding code of conduct, and a commitment to positively reinforcing the political work of the organization. The historic mission of building a liberation movement with the capacity to map out the vision for a national democratic society and prosecute the political struggle of bringing it about has rested and still rests on the ability to enforce a clear strategic and organizational line that must be upheld by all members. The African National Congress hereby communicates, in terms of its constitution, the verdicts of the National Disciplinary Committee proceedings in respect of the cases against Comrade Cibi and former President Jacob Zuma. We also want to place it on record that the verdicts have been duly communicated to the charged members as required. Item 40 of Annexure 3 to the ANC Constitution provides, I quote, "The disciplinary committee shall in writing report the outcome to the Secretary General or relevant provincial secretary and then publicly announce its finding," close quote. Accordingly, the NDC chairperson, Comrade N. Vasurti, acting as the chairperson, wrote to the office of the Secretary General providing the ANC with the verdicts of the two cases. The first written communication from the NDC was on the 22nd July 2022 on the case of Comrade Cibi. The second verdict outcome relating to the matter of the ANC versus Jacob Zuma was received on the 28th July 2024. We hereby quote from the respective verdicts on these two matters separately. In the matter of ANC versus Cibi, following an appeal hearing by the National Disciplinary Committee, the NDC made the following finding in respect of Comrade Cibi on 22nd July 2022. Conviction, save for the last argument regarding improper splitting of charges which is upheld and not material to conviction, the remaining arguments raised by the appellant were dismissed. Sanction: the ANC argued for the dismissal of the appeal and implored the National Disciplinary Committee to impose a harsher sanction. In terms of Rule 25.23.3 of the ANC Constitution, the National Disciplinary Committee, sitting as an appeal body, is empowered to reconsider a harsher sanction if the circumstances warranted it. The National Disciplinary Committee is of the view that the call by the ANC for a harsher sanction was compelling for the following reasons. One, the action of the appellant displayed an utter disregard for the organization, its president, and its code of conduct. Two, the planning for the march had gone beyond the stage of attempt, and the evidence of the provincial secretary showed that the organizers, including the appellant, were defiant and not prepared to heed the call of the ANC national and provincial leaders to review their resolution and called off the march. Three, there was nothing political about the approach of the organizers, nor was there any justification for their actions. It was transactional in nature. You acceded to our demand regarding the Nkosi City Development Project, and we will attend your January 8 celebration. Four, major events of the ANC, such as the January 8 celebrations, attract widespread media attention. Had the march materialized, it will not only have seriously prejudiced the reputation of the organization, but could potentially have led to violent clashes with members and supporters in the stadium, resulting in damage to property, injury, and loss of life. However, the National Disciplinary Committee has taken into consideration the ground of appeal it upheld vis-à-vis that there was an improper splitting of charges which would have necessitated the imposition of a lesser sanction. After considering these two competing factors, the National Disciplinary Committee has decided not to interfere with the sanction imposed by the Provincial Disciplinary Committee, which it considers to be appropriate in the circumstances. Finding of the National Disciplinary Hearing on the matter of Mandlam Cibi, the appeal is dismissed. The finding of the Provincial Disciplinary Committee is confirmed. In view of the above decision by the National Disciplinary Committee, the suspension of Comrade Mandlam Cibi remains in effect. The comrade is still a member of the ANC and is afforded an opportunity to reconcile himself with the strategic political line of the ANC. In the matter of the ANC versus Zuma, following a disciplinary hearing, the matter of the ANC versus Jacob Zuma was heard on the 23rd July 2024 on a virtual platform. The National Disciplinary Committee made the following finding in respect of Mr. Zuma on the 28th of July 2024. The National Disciplinary Committee finds that the charged member is found guilty of contravening Rule 25.17.17.4 of the ANC Constitution, read with subsection 2, for prejudicing the integrity or repute of the organization by acting in collaboration with a registered political party to which the Umkhonto weSizwe party, which is not in alliance with the ANC, in a manner contrary to the aims, policies, and objectives of the African National Congress. The charged member is expelled from the ANC. The charged member has the right to appeal to the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal within 21 days. The final verdict being, I quote, The church member is expelled from the African National Congress. The church member has the right to appeal to the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal within 21 days. Close quote. Former President Jacob Zuma has actively impugned the integrity of the ANC and campaigned to dislodge the ANC from power, while claiming that he had not severed his membership. This conduct is irreconcilable with the spirit of organizational discipline and letter of the ANC Constitution. Furthermore, former President Zuma has been running on a dangerous platform that casts doubt on our entire constitutional edifice. He has meted out a host of anti-revolutionary outbursts, including mischievously calling into question the credibility of our electoral processes without cause and discrediting the rationale of our judicial system. The political values and democratic institutions he is mobilizing against were consciously embedded into our constitutional dispensation by the ANC as strategic advances of the values of the National Democratic Revolution. His platform is dangerous, appeals to extremist instincts in our body politic, and riles up political base that may foment social unrest. His actions reinforces the work of the primarily right-wing opponents of the National Democratic Revolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the statement by the ANC officially reporting to the public as required by the Constitution on the outcomes of the National Disciplinary Committee. We will now take hands from members of the media who may have questions to ask on the statement, nothing else but the statement. You can raise your hands if you have something to ask. If we are all clear, we can wrap up and go home. Am I seeing hands or you guys are doing things that are... Okay, public broadcaster, you are the first one. CD, you are next. Siamtanda, you are going to follow CD. Mangobo, you are coming. Lizega, you will follow after Lizega. Okay, let's go. We can hear you. Try shoot.
From SABC News, you've just told us that you've now notified both former President Jacob Zuma and Cibi of outcomes of the MDC. But I just want you to react, perhaps your reaction to the MK statement, where they've likened the DC process to a kangaroo court, and also just their comments on the leaked findings of the MDC. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tiki, my dear, from Eyewitness News. Just a few questions. One, Natasha already touched on the idea of the MK's view of the leaked document, saying that it says something about the ANC and its ethics when something this serious finds its way in the public domain. Secondly, I wanted you to maybe talk us through how they were notified. Specifically you, Max, if you recall, you've been down this path before with Ace Makashule, and he had been saying to the media, I didn't get any notification. And you kind of stood there and you said, we went to said address, and this is how we dealt with this particular moment. Let me just leave it there for now. There's something else I need to ask, but I'll come back. Thank you.
Okay. Mine is about how long it took for us to get to this point. Mr. Mbalula, I think you've been asked several times, why are you not expelling him when earlier on in the year maybe? Do Do you regret that it took you so long to get to this point, especially since it's been said that the ANC finds itself in the position that it is in terms of the elections because of what the former president has done? Would you have, I want to ask you, do you think it would have changed the situation if you have acted earlier as well? Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's Zianda Tobo from Newsroom Africa. Perhaps if you could just share what kind of arguments were made by the former president's representative in that NDC that would have either not been convincing or that would have been a factor leading you to reach this decision that you've reached, which of course we now know is an expulsion. And the second part is, has there been any consideration or discussion at all about any possible fallout politically following this decision, and what would that be from the ANC's view at this stage?
Yes. It's you.
Sorry, just to add on to Zianda's question, from Times Live. Just when you are reflecting on this, because this is a historical moment for the ANC, in that just a few years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, when you expelled your Secretary General, and now it's a former president. What do you make of this in terms of the organization in itself? And when you're reflecting on this as the top 7 or the highest structure being the ABC, what would you what is the lesson that you'll take from this decision that has been made? And the consequences thereafter, Mr. Mbalula, in terms of, there are some, we've seen obviously the indications with the elections in KwaZulu-Natal sort of signify that there is sympathy for President or former President Jacob Zuma. Then your communication to your rank and file in terms of this decision, what will that be? Thank you.
From ENCA, just add on to my colleagues. The former president seems to suggest that he wasn't given the opportunity to be part of the DC as he had wanted to be there physically. Maybe just some of the reasoning behind the ANC not allowing him to be part of it physically and holding it virtually. And maybe just to add on to the reflections themselves, do you perhaps regret defending the former president time and again, as you once suggested, SG, that even ministers were at pains at once to defend him when it comes to, for example, things like the fire pool? Do you reflect those, do you reflect or maybe regret it as the ANC coming in his defense time and again?
Okay, thank you very much, guys. That was the last one. The Secretary General will respond. I must also just stress that we have an NWC starting now, so we won't be here for long. SG.
There's a lot of people here and people are making noise outside. You're part of the press conference. If you can just talk to them outside. These are visitors, I can't ask them. Nizenzi journalist nani. So sinendwendwe apha. Sisihambele abantu bayanqola nimamele nibukele. So ndiyanicela nje ukuthi khani bacele bathobe sikwazi uvana. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, with the questions. First, with the SABC, Natasha Piri, MK likening the DC to kangaroo court and a leaked document. First, let's clarify the fact that the ANC did not charge a party called MK, charged Jacob Zuma. And that's what we are about in terms of the verdict. So if we had charged the MK party as a party, it would be something different. We charged our member, Jacob Zuma, whose membership was going to expire and up for renewal by December this year. So dealing with the Jacob Zuma matter has not been an easy one in terms of how normally you deal with people who behave like him as members of the ANC, who choose to leave the party and then form a political party and work against the party openly and decampaign the party. That's what Jacob Zuma has done. So under normal circumstances, we should have just said, he's gone, he's gone. The NEC reflected on the matter and took a decision that we must charge Jacob Zuma, which is what we have done. And this is the final part of it in terms of the charging of Jacob Zuma. We will not comment about unsigned documents that were circulated. We'll deal with that matter internally in the organization if there's any substance to it, because there's a lot of fake news flying around. Like that document, it was fake news because the real document came last night to us on the 28th, and that's what gave us this, that has given us a platform to basically communicate the outcome of the disciplinary committee as expected by the prescripts of the ANC constitution. Notification has been done, the same as Zuma was notified about the DC, and he knew, and he sent his representatives to go and represent him in the virtual meeting and all of that. Even in terms of the outcome, as the prescripts of the ANC constitution require, Zuma would have been notified. Otherwise, there will be no statement from MK reacting to fallacy and falsehood and fake news. So the statement of his political party reacting to the outcome, that signifies that he's probably aware and has been notified by the DC. So we communicate what is now in the public domain, and as required, the outcome in terms of the content of what were the arguments are equally public. So Zuko is required by the ANC constitution to supply and to give you the arguments that were advanced for or against in public. We have given that information to our structures. We have informed the National Executive Committee as we speak right now. Everybody has got the right content in terms of the DC of the ANC. So you can look into that, Zianda, and see what arguments Zuma was advancing against what, to defend himself, probably through his representative. So I'm not his spokesperson. So the content of that is entailed in the whole verdict, a very comprehensive, of the National Disciplinary Committee. It's not a question, News 24, of time. You could have taken a decision at the right time. The odds were against you. The outcome will still be the same or different. We don't know. Other people were saying you shouldn't have taken Zuma to court to challenge the MK trademark, which on Thursday we were in court to appeal and to fight for the logo of Umkhonto weSizwe, which Jacob Zuma have actually taken. So it is not a question of time. The behavior is the same. What we don't know is what will the behavior be if a decision of this nature was taken earlier on or during the campaign. But Zuma formed a party within 3 months, campaigned, declared that he will fight the ANC in the election. And that's what he has done. So will it have changed the situation for the better? Maybe it would have changed the situation for the better. We don't know. But the party remains. It is there, out there. It has got its identity. So we don't know why you have a party and then you argue for your membership. When you have taken a conscious decision to leave the ANC, you have impugned the integrity of the ANC. You have done everything. You have brought us below 40%, below 50%, and we're grappling with that now. So all of those things have happened. We're dealing with the consequence of Jacob Zuma's actions against the African National Congress. Zianda, I've answered your question. Arguments are there in the full verdict in terms of what Zuma was arguing for, which it is entailed there. Jacob Zuma wanted a movie in front of Luthuli House and so on, and he wanted this hearing to be public. That's what he wanted. Now, you can't go to court and they tell you that you are we're going to conduct your hearing virtually, and you say, no, I'm not coming, and easy. I want it to be in this fashion and that fashion. The most important thing, if you've got integrity and you've got cogent arguments that you have not contravened the rules of the ANC as you have been charged under in terms of the Constitution, you can argue anywhere. It's not an issue where you argue, but we are not there. That's what he wanted. He wanted the movie, he wanted this thing to play itself out. He wanted the rally. Even when they were told that the disciplinary hearing is virtual, they still came here. And they knew that there's no DC at Luthuli House. So they still came here. So it tells you that Jacob Zuma wanted a movie. Now, he didn't want to defend himself against what he thinks it is right and argue in the DC and represent himself or through his representatives. So that's what he did. Lizeka, there are many people over time in the ANC who have been dealt with in terms of discipline, starting with the PAC and Sobukwe and them, and then come the group of 8, Omakiwan. They were expelled, the group of 8 from the ANC. In your history, post 1990, Bantu Olomisa was expelled from the ANC. Others expelled themselves. They didn't give us headache. They just left. Terra Ligota and them, they formed COPE and they left. So Jacob Zuma, as a high-ranking official in the ANC, and having been the president, yes, that is what is new out of this experience. We never had a president like this. I mean, that is what is new. You know, when you have, we never had a Secretary General like Magashule. I mean, it shows you that the roof is coming down, where people at the highest level of the organization can be subjected to DC and even expulsion from the party. So they teamed up with Magashule in this election. The other one decided, I will take this route, we'll meet in front. But others collapsed along the way. So only Zuma managed to emerge. So we have never had that in history, but not that high-ranking people in the ANC who were problematic at some point, others left voluntarily, formed organizations, others were actually expelled in the organization. Communication to the rank and file of the ANC is that, and members of the ANC, is that we live by the constitution of the ANC and the discipline of the party. And that's what is important. We say that it doesn't matter the rank. But if you break the rules and the constitution, you contravene, we've got the responsibility to maintain discipline in the party. And you'll be subjected to the ANC disciplinary process. And we didn't think that at any given point in time we'll deal with a situation like this in history of our former president to be subjected to DC. Not just that, to somebody who was part of the party to start a political party and do what he has done to the ANC and campaigned decisively against the ANC, like Jacob Zuma has actually done. We didn't think, but these things now have become normal, that anything can happen in a normalized political environment and democratic dispensation. So Jacob Zuma have just taken that decision to form a party and to work against the ANC. And the ANC is here to stay. Members of the ANC have got the responsibility to defend their party, their organization, and its integrity. And that's what is important. Mtila, I think I've answered your first question about physical or virtual. I don't know. You say that physical or virtual, what was in? Why didn't we give? I mean, that was a decision of the disciplinary committee of the ANC that it must be virtual, and we all went with it, and we subjected ourselves through that process. Jacob Zuma himself was supposed to do the same. So if, like I said, he's got anything cogent political he wanted to defend, he could have gone there and defended himself. And then maybe give his members a public statement better than 16th of December, when he announced in Soweto the reasons why he is going to vote for MK. And clearly by that time defining himself outside the ANC. So Zuma moved from the announcement to becoming a leader of MK. When he announced, he said, I am just voting. And 360-degree, he moved to become a leader and even fight in courts to lead the party, to go to parliament. So that shows how serious he was about leaving the ANC and going and forming Umkhonto Wesizwe party and fighting to become its leader legally and so on. So it shows that he moved many steps further. He basically left, I mean, even yourself as members of the media, you said, it's good to hear that we're a kangaroo court, but kangaroo court is that MK, where everybody is expelled without a due process. Who are they to lecture people about a due process? At the MK party, we read in the press that you are dismissed. You don't know when was the DC. They've not even gone to a conference to have a structured party. You don't know who you speak with there. Because if you speak to this one, tomorrow he might have left and dismissed. Now we are told by political non-entities about how to run a party. I mean, when in a few months, they've not shown any of the good deeds of a good party in terms of governing a party. In the ANC, you've got a DC. Whether it's virtual or what, you are allowed to be represented. You are not just dismissed. And these people, they don't go to court to fight for dismissal. You are appointed secretary, you don't know who appointed you. And others, depending on your proximity next to Zuma, you can be something big without even campaigning in an election. Where was Lope? On door-to-door, campaigning for MK. Where is Jabulani? The man who started this thing, gave us trouble, went to the IEC, registered. I was with him in Bloemfontein. I was with him in Durban, fighting for the trademark. Where is he? He's in the streets, nowhere to be found, not even in parliament. He tried to go to parliament, they dealt with him without a disciplinary process. Now, we are lectured by these people. Please, man. Please, we're ready for anything. As the ANC, we are happy that we have reached this stage. We'll defend our actions and to the end in relation to Jacob Zuma. We believe politically and morally and otherwise we're on the right path. And like you said, it is a process that was dragging and dragging over time to the point where many in our organization believe that we are now making a special dispensation for Jacob Zuma. Actually, as we announced to you, others are saying in the ANC this is long overdue. But we had to follow the process of the organization to the latter. And that's what is important in terms of, because we respect the ANC constitution. And the ANC constitution must be followed to the latter, and that's what we did in relation to Jacob Zuma for his claim that he's a member of the ANC. And indeed, he is a member of the ANC. He was up until December, but now he's expelled. Thank you.
Thank you very much, colleagues. As I said, the Secretary General has to rush to a National Working Committee meeting. As the SG says, the outcomes of the National Disciplinary Committee are now a matter of public record. We will be circulating it to all of you guys. You can read through it for the arguments that you want to see. All other questions, we will handle them in post-press briefing interviews. I'm sorry, Natasha, we are pressed for time.
But it was not my fault, it's your colleagues.
Okay, thank you. The platform
No, it's the politics of it. The key issue is what does a person stand up and say in public.
Okay, just to follow up, the allegations against the intimidation of Tony Ngeli, apparently they allege that you had sent him text messages before the ANC hearing.
You're pretty much threatening, intimidating him. That's the argument they made.
In the judgment, you will see the answer. It is there.
Okay,
Thank you. There's no soundbite. There's nothing.
Okay, guys,
Thank you.